In a world driven by speed and precision, one name has carved an indelible mark in the pages of Formula One history, a name synonymous with sheer passion, innovation, triumphs, and the many legends it shaped, and that name is McLaren. Since its inception in 1963, McLaren has been a key player in Formula One, the second oldest active team after Ferrari. McLaren has constantly pushed the boundaries of technology and speed, producing some of the most iconic cars and drivers the sport has ever seen. But even this titan of motor racing has had its share of struggles. The past decade in particular has tested the mettle of this formidable team as it strove to re-establish its position at the front of the grid. In this video, we dive into the illustrious history of McLaren in F1 racing, the victories achieved, the challenges and trials it faced in the last decade, the lessons learned, and the vision for the future. Background. The story of McLaren begins in the heart of New Zealand, where a young Bruce McLaren nurtured his passion for racing. Born in 1937, Bruce was diagnosed with Perthes disease, which left him temporarily disabled as a child. Yet, his spirit remained undeterred. Bruce's passion for speed ignited in his father's service station and workshop, where he first came into contact with racing cars. Bruce's talent was apparent from a young age. At 22, he became the youngest Grand Prix winner, a record he held for over 4 decades. However, Bruce's ambitions extended beyond just being a driver. He dreamed of creating a team that could challenge the best in the world. A team armed with innovative engineering, a deep-seated passion for speed, and an unwavering commitment to victory. And in 1963, Bruce's dream took shape and McLaren Racing was born. From the outset, the team showed immense promise. Just 6 years into their journey, McLaren secured their first Formula One victory at the 1968 Belgian Grand Prix. Tragically, Bruce McLaren died in a testing accident in 1970, but his legacy was far from over. The team he had created continued his vision and grew to become one of the most successful in Formula One history. McLaren has been home to some of the most legendary names in Formula One, including Emerson Fittipaldi, James Hunt, Niki Lauda, Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna, and Lewis Hamilton. Under the stewardship of these giants and the team's relentless pursuit of excellence, McLaren amassed a collection of accolades, winning 183 races, including 12 Drivers' Championships and 8 Constructors' Championships, and making them the second most successful Formula One team only after Ferrari. The journey. Despite its rich history and numerous accomplishments, McLaren's journey has not been without challenges. In 1981, Ron Dennis took over as team principal, and shortly afterward, this began the team's most successful era. With Porsche and Honda engines, McLaren drivers Niki Lauda, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna won 7 Drivers' Championships between them, and the team took 6 Constructors' Championships. McLaren's team dominance soared to celestial heights in 1988. The remarkable partnership between Prost and Senna was particularly dominant. Together, they won all but one race in the unforgettable year of 1988. While the early years and turn of the century were filled with victories and milestones for McLaren, the past decade has tested the team in ways they could hardly have anticipated. The team was coming off a high in 2012, finishing third in the Constructors' Championship with 7 victories. However, the period that followed was one of significant challenges and introspection. McLaren's troubles began with a series of underperforming car designs that failed to compete with the dominant teams of the time. The team that had once been a frontrunner was now regularly missing out on podium finishes and even struggling to secure points. The most apparent symbol of their struggles was the team's car for the 2013 season, the MP428, launched on the 31st of January 2013. This car was one of their least successful designs and struggled to compete with the other teams. That year, for the first time since 1980, McLaren finished an entire season without a podium finish. However, the issues ran deeper than car design. A key challenge was the problematic power unit partnerships that marred their performance on the track. The most notable was in 2015, when McLaren ended their engine deal with Mercedes and reforged their historical partnership with Honda. McLaren's decision to rekindle their successful relationship with Honda from the late 80s and early 90s seemed promising, but the reality was far from it. The Honda power units were plagued with reliability issues and a lack of power, leading to numerous retirements and penalties. The relationship strained further with time, and McLaren ended their partnership with Honda in 2017, switching to Renault power units in 2018. The era of Zak Brown. Simultaneously, McLaren's internal structure saw considerable turbulence. Several changes in leadership and structure during this time disrupted the team's momentum. There was a need for strong, decisive leadership, and this was filled by Zak Brown, an American businessman and former professional racing driver who stepped in as CEO of McLaren Racing in 2018. Unfortunately, navigating the 2018 racing season was an uphill battle for McLaren. A cloud of uncertainty hung over each qualifying session as the McLaren drivers were knocked out 21 times in the first qualifying session. McLaren had the second worst average qualifying ranking of any team. Only Williams found themselves with a more unfortunate ranking, offering consolation to the struggling McLaren team. However, under Brown's leadership, McLaren underwent significant changes. The restructured leadership aimed to bring back the team to its glory days, with a renewed emphasis on engineering excellence, a reformed technical team, and a vision to return to the top. A winding journey for McLaren. The reformation process began to bear fruit slowly. The 2019 season was much more favourable for McLaren, with the team finishing fourth in the Constructors' Championship behind Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull, their best result since 2012. The driver lineup, a combination of youthful talent and experienced hands, was a significant factor in this resurgence. Carlos Sainz Jr., a skilled and experienced driver, brought consistency to the team's performance, while Lando Norris, a promising rookie, injected fresh energy and perspective into the squad. Also, at the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, an unexpected twist of fate led to an electrifying moment for McLaren. Carlos Sainz crossed the finish line in fourth place, delivering a solid performance. Yet the drama unfolded post-race when reigning champion Lewis Hamilton was penalised, thrusting Sainz onto the coveted podium. It was a bittersweet moment, as the penalty meant that McLaren's triumphant return to the podium, the first since the 2014 Australian Grand Prix, was missed during the official ceremony. However, it did nothing to dampen the spirits of the team. The season's close saw McLaren firmly occupying the fourth spot in the Constructors' Championship, amassing a robust tally of 145 points. This was their most successful campaign since 2014, and they stood tall, 54 points ahead of their closest competitor, Renault. The season was not just about points and podiums, but a renewed belief in McLaren's ability to make a comeback. Their legacy was far from over, and the future promised more exhilarating moments on the horizon. Despite the encouraging signs, the journey towards recovery was far from easy. Each step forward was met with its share of setbacks and hurdles. As 2020 dawned, McLaren retained the dynamic duo of Norris and Sainz, entrusting them with steering the team forward in the upcoming season. However, the year brought an unforeseen adversary, the COVID-19 pandemic. It threw a spanner in the works of the meticulously planned F1 season, shortening the race calendar to a mere 18 races with a season opener in Austria. Against all odds, Lando Norris rose to the occasion at the Austrian Grand Prix. The young Briton raced his heart out, crossing the line in a stunning third place and achieving his first ever podium finish. As the season rolled on, Carlos Sainz had his moment in the spotlight at the Italian Grand Prix. In a dramatic race, he pushed his McLaren to its limits, clinching second place and adding another podium finish to McLaren's tally. When the dust settled on the pandemic-riddled 2020 season, McLaren emerged as a phoenix reborn from the ashes, securing third place in the Constructors' Championship with an impressive haul of 202 points. In 2021, McLaren again partnered with Mercedes engines, which they had previously collaborated with from 1995 through 2014 after their deal with Renault ended. The collaboration bore significant fruit. Daniel Ricciardo moved from Renault to replace Carlos Sainz, who moved to Ferrari. Daniel Ricciardo took McLaren's first victory in 9 years at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. This win was a landmark moment, as it was McLaren's first win since the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix, and a second place finish for Norris also meant that McLaren achieved their first 1-2 finish since the 2010 Canadian Grand Prix. This was also the only 1-2 finish for the 2021 season. Unfortunately, McLaren's fierce momentum waned as the season progressed. Their once rock-solid grip on the racetracks began to loosen, leading to a dip in performance in the latter stages. This unexpected subsequent drop saw them slip into the 4th spot in the Constructors' Championship behind Ferrari. The 2022 F1 season came with some new regulations changes, including the switch to 18-inch wheels, a shift away from the traditional 13-inch wheel that has been a mainstay in Formula 1 for over 30 years. McLaren had to redesign their car for the new regulations like all other teams. Like several teams, McLaren struggled to grapple successfully with the new generation cars, and its performance slid back as a result. For the 2022 season, McLaren retained Norris and Ricciardo, but challenges loomed. A twist was waiting around the corner. Ricciardo tested positive for COVID-19, casting a shadow of uncertainty over the team's pre-season tests in Bahrain. With Ricciardo sidelined, it was up to Norris to carry the torch alone, navigating the twists and turns of the track during the test. Norris nor Ricciardo made it to Q3, marking the first time since the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix that they found themselves in such a position. The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix brought fresh air to the McLaren camp. A glimmer of hope emerged with Norris's third-place finish in Emilia-Romagna. Amidst all the challenges, Ricciardo faced an uphill battle of his own. Struggling to find his footing, he encountered criticism over his performance. In August 2022, a decision was made to part ways, and Ricciardo's contract for 2023 was terminated by mutual agreement. McLaren finished the 2022 season in 5th place in the Constructors' Championship behind Alpine. The 2023 season celebrated the 60th anniversary of the team's founding, and the season's car, MCL60, was named to commemorate the anniversary. McLaren was ready to embrace new opportunities, and they signed Oscar Piastri from Alpine to replace Ricciardo for the 2023 season. The 2023 season came with challenges, causing McLaren to release a public statement after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. They announced certain organisational changes. For example, they introduced a Formula 1 technical executive team consisting of 3 new specialised technical director roles, as technical director James Key parted ways with the team. After a slow start without scoring points in the first 2 races, Norris and Piastri claimed 6th and 8th places in the Australian Grand Prix. This was Piastri's first point in Formula 1 and for McLaren. Determined to make a change, McLaren brought new car upgrades for Norris in Austria and then also to Piastri at the British Grand Prix. This upgrade package was sorely needed as issues with McLaren's MCL60 kept both drivers very near the bottom of the grid for the majority of the first half of the 2023 season. At the iconic British Grand Prix at Silverstone, McLaren shocked the F1 world. With new car upgrades, Norris and Piastri zoomed to a sensational 2nd and 3rd in qualifying. It was McLaren's best of the season. Race day came and Norris was on fire. He blasted past Verstappen right off the bat, snatching the lead. For a breathless 4 laps, he was king of the circuit. But then Verstappen clawed back to overtake him on the 5th lap. Piastri wasn't to be easily outdone. He finished 4th just behind Lewis Hamilton. Due to an ill-timed safety car, McLaren just missed out on a double podium at Silverstone. Norris ensured a sweet 2nd place for McLaren. They last tasted such success at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. Norris claimed his back-to-back podium finish at the Hungarian Grand Prix by finishing 2nd. Piastri had a rollercoaster ride there, ending up 5th due to floor damage. The drama continued to the Belgian Grand Prix. Piastri stunned everyone by qualifying 2nd in the sprint shootout, missing the pole by a hair-raising 11 milliseconds, while Norris secured the 6th position. McLaren is now making significant progress in both the 2023 Constructors and Drivers' Championships, while other teams, such as Alpine, one of McLaren's chief best-of-the-rest rivals, are faltering. So, are these new car upgrades going to help turn things around finally? With the organisational changes and upgrade packages heavily influenced by the leading Red Bull car concept, things may be looking up for the storied team. Combined with the driver pairing of Norris, who many see having world champion potential, and the impressive rookie Piastri, McLaren may very well finally be on a viable path to resurgence after so many years struggling in the midfield. Today, McLaren stands as a testament to resilience and the pursuit of excellence. Despite a challenging decade, the team has re-emerged competitively, marked by a journey rife with trials, hope and perseverance. Bolstered by renewed dedication to technology, a strong driver pairing and new key team leaders, the future of McLaren F1 gleams with potential. As founder Bruce McLaren once said, "To do something well is so worthwhile that to die trying to do it better cannot be foolhardy."